Okay.
You asked for it, you get it. Ryu and I will rip your photos into smithereens. Hold on to your headphones. Here comes the pain.
And it is, I don't know which episode it is, but it is for like probably 76 or 77. This is Training Ground. This is part of the Big Lens Fast Shutter Network. If you just came here by accident, please go to biglensfastshutter.com to get more information. What we also do is we have a podcast every month, and we talk all things sports photography. And it's probably the best sports photography podcast if you are looking to learn to become a better sports photographer. So, part of which is this is called Training Ground, where the listeners submit their photos, and both Matt and I will critique the photos live right now for us. Can't really change anything, but not really for you because it'll be recorded. So, let's get on with this. The first one is from Kevin Sosa, who usually shoots hockey, but today he shot basketball. Let's have a look.
It's not basketball.
It's not even basketball. It's wrestling. What am I supposed to be looking at?
Yeah, so here's what I'll say about this. It didn't work, right? But this is what you should be trying to do. That when we talk about, oh, it's two guys in a ball or a guy running or, whatever, it's that there's not enough going on. It's like, okay, you successfully framed the action, you stopped the action, you got it in focus. That's fine, but that's like the bare minimum. What Kevin's doing here is more complicated than that. And having those out of focus guys on the left edge of the frame and then having the more in focus subject of the picture and then again out of focus in the background, he's layered the frame, right? He's provided depth into it and layers and different places for your eye to go. But that's not enough either, right? The problem with this picture is that there's a lot of things that are distracting. And I would say that those out of focus guys on the left side are fine. But the problem is that the background stuff is too in focus. So you have like that guy hunched down and it looks like women wrestling in the background. Those are not out of focus enough and they're not placed in the frame in the right place. To do a picture like this, you really do have to execute. It needs to be perfect. And this isn't because of the background is swallowing up the people who are in focus and you just can't do that. So it was a good effort, but it didn't work because to do this, it needs to be the things that are out of focus need to be obviously out of focus and the things that are in focus need to pop. So what's screwing you here? There is not enough distance between what's in focus and the background. And, that's just a problem of where you were standing and where the action was happening. Those dark pads along the back wall are what's swallowing up your subject. If it had been a white wall, it would have been a lot better. But then let's step back. That's the primary problem. Like that's insurmountable. If that was done properly, if there was just a white wall back there and you had that definition between what's in focus and the background, you would be okay. We could work with it. But looking at this picture and losing the subjects to getting just muddied with the background is only one problem. The other problems are the people who are sitting in the background. Like that's not helpful unless they're really uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like, they really need to be like in a line or something. They need to be like another structural element of the picture. But that guy kneeling or squatting or whatever on the right edge, and then the people who are sitting in between the out of focus on the left and the in focus, that's not helping at all. It just makes everything more distracting. And then further along that axis, you have those along the top edge, you have like a dark spot and then a little triangle, and then along the, you know, more towards the right side, you have another dot. And then the backboard of the basket isn't really all that helpful either. So I would say that this was a good idea, but this was not the circumstance to use it. If you're going to do something like this, you really need to eliminate all of the things that are distracting, because you're already asking a lot of the people who are looking at the picture. You're asking them to fight through the closest thing to you being out of focus. You're asking them to fight through the main subject getting swallowed up by the background, and also having people who are not doing the sport and not a crowd, right? And then you have those, you know, the lack of uniformity in the background. Like those, you know, the pattern on the background is fine. I don't mind that at all. But those dark spots and that triangle and the hoop, none of that stuff is helping. It's just adding more distraction on top of everything else. So what I would say is try to do this, right? Try to have layers like this, like things that are out of focus in the foreground, things that are out of focus in the background, and then compose around the subject. But you definitely have to have a cleaner background than this and not have the subject get swallowed up. So what Kevin's doing here is advanced. This is not a beginner's picture at all. And it was a good idea. It just didn't work because of, you know, that it's too hard to get to what you're looking at here.
I think it's like, first of all, the problem is that you have a dark, okay. It's like, for me, like the problem is that the first, like, you know, the foreground, the two guys wrestling, I couldn't even actually see that until just like when you mentioned it. I didn't see it. What I'm fine with that, obviously, but I think the second part where the people are in focus, there's two black guys against a black background. It just doesn't work. So if there's two white guys, sure, it would work. If the background is light, it wouldn't have actually worked. So you need to like kind of suss the situation out when you're shooting in this kind of environment. Say, if I actually want to have two people wrestling in front of me, which is going to be out of focus, and I need to actually then get someone in the focus zone, as these two black guys are doing, they need to like find out like, okay, where can I actually then place them so that they will pop. I'm sure this was shot in what color to start with, and then he converted to black and white because he thought he could salvage it. When it's shit though. You really can't do anything about it. Like, it's just like, it's a bit of a throwaway. I'm happy that he submitted this, but you have to be thinking a bit further down the line, saying, you know, to yourself, okay, because the color of the skin really matters when it comes to photography and like where you actually place them. Black people on white background, white people on dark background. It really actually does matter quite a lot. So that you have to be really thinking, because especially in black and white, it's really going to be quite pronounced. And also, like, my problem is that those two people are not doing anything. So if it's like a quite, you know, super crazy move that those two black guys are doing, I think that would actually be a bit more, even though the background problem is not going to go away. So that you have to kind of like look out for as well. Like, okay, you have two people in the foreground doing something, and you also probably need two people in focus or in the background doing something as well. So things to kind of like, because it's a bit of a luck thing as well, right? Because you're just not shooting those two black guys in focus. That's not your main thing. You also want the two guys in the foreground also to be doing something and need that space to be able to actually shoot them. So yeah, would it actually help if you were shooting, for instance, a bit lower and shooting a little bit towards the ceiling? If you can actually catch those two guys actually going at it in the background, maybe, you know, it could be a matter of angle thing. But yeah, it's really not easy. If I was in a similar situation, I think I have to get really lucky to actually get something. Okay, moving on.
It's tough when you look around the background and you see that there's, you know, not uniformity back there, and you're trying to do something that's complicated like that. It's time to look for the white wall, right? Look for somewhere where there's, you know, not that padding and not the people sitting around.
So this is by Toyin. Um, for me, this is just quite easy. Like it has to be the moment the woman passes the baton to her teammate. Like it's just kind of one step before. And this to me is like I understand this is a relay race, but it's not a very exciting moment in a relay. The most exciting moment in a relay race usually is the baton thing because that, shit happens. Like people catch it properly or they don't, they drop it, all sorts of drama happens, and that's kind of how it is. And you missed it. So I don't know.
Yeah,
like I think it's you could have just waited a bit,
Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe one of the other runners stepped in front at the right moment or something, and he's trying to salvage it. Yeah. Because this was a good idea, right? Again, we're talking about the
blurry
layering
foreground and focus background.
So I like that. It's just a more complex picture, and if you do those right, they're going to be better pictures than just basic ones. But the problem is you were in the right place theoretically, right? You composed it properly, but the timing is off. And so I don't know, if they blew your moment by one of the other runners getting into your way, that's a lesson that you should take forward. Sometimes there's a situation where, oh man, this would be the best picture, but it's impossible because due to the rules of the game, there's always going to be like sitting on the baseline for a basketball game. You can get some really good pictures there shooting wide, but you also have to know every once in a while a ref, and some refs do it all the time, are going to stop right in front of you and officiate from where they are. And if they're right in front of you and they're going to be doing that the whole game, it really doesn't matter all the planning that went into it and the idea that you had and the composition and all of that, because all you're going to be getting is dark pants. So a little bit of situational awareness. Like if you are shooting a relay again, and if the reason this picture was ruined was because people stepped in front of you who were on the other teams or something like that, that's something to keep in mind, because you don't want to get stuck making it, trying to make it happen when it's never going to happen, because that's just where they're going to be. That's where the ref is going to be. That's where the other relay runners are going to be. And anytime you get close, or, even if it was possible, but you would have to have a blowout race, right? So all the other people would have had to have left, and these would have been the only people who were there, and nobody would be blocking you at that point. Then maybe you do it and maybe you don't, because they would be losing or something. But again, you have to be aware of what could happen next, what usually happens next. And in this situation, I'm hoping that you were just trying to salvage this. I hope you were going for something that was a better timing situation, because that's easier to fix. If you think that this was the good timing situation because she's in focus and she has an expression on her face and you can see the baton, that's not enough. Like, she has to be doing something more athletic than this. She has to be reaching, she has to have dropped it and, is looking down. Like, something else has to be going on, not just the constipated look. That's not enough. This doesn't need to be here.
No, it's fine. It's like he just won the medal and just posing, blah blah.
Yeah, blah. I would say, on that one, you can get lower than that, right? Even if you are, so let's say you walk up and you shoot that picture, and you get it, and you got it. Then, maybe put the camera on the ground and shoot without looking through the viewfinder or something like that. That little, even 2 feet or 3 feet difference between where the camera is and the ground will make a big difference. It brings in like the sky, it brings in the more of the stadium, more of a heroic kind of moment. The guy won, he's celebrating and he has a gold medal or whatever it is.
It's too like what everyone else would be shooting would be exactly.
Yeah, you really, if you're looking for an edge, if you're looking for your pictures to stand out, just shoot. Obviously you don't want to shoot at eye level. You've solved that problem. You're not doing that. But it is better to, it's better to get lower than that for sure.
I think it's the most famous gym in the world at this point now, the magical gym where they have the spotlight and everything else. He said he's still using the 85 to shoot it, and he's trying to like play with the color a little bit rather than convert to black and white, which I always agree. I think it's like you don't want to put things in black and white for the sake of just putting the whole black and white to kind of just save things. And because working with color at the end of the day is probably much more difficult than black and white. Black and white just kind of adds an extra bit to it. And to me, like you should kind of like, if you're going to shoot in black and white, you have to kind of think about it in black and white and then shoot and then convert it, rather than actually like saying, I'm going to shoot whatever it is. I'm going to convert black and white, whatever I have. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to save it by being in black and white. Black and white is for subtle differences in tones. It's for textures. It's for, you know, showing crazy dynamic range, that kind of thing. It's not, you know, so it was a good impulse to do it like this.
That guy, that fucking ref.
Yeah.
Everything, you know?
Yeah. I wouldn't, you know, I probably wouldn't have left that guy in there. You know, if they were going for a pin and the ref was on the ground and, you know, getting ready to count or whatever, that would be one thing. And, you know, I just think you could crop it out and it would be better. But you also have to keep in mind the background. And I'm looking at, I don't know if there's bags of popcorn right in the middle. And then you have the light coming through the door up in the top, and then the maybe sweats on the bottom.
It doesn't really bother me as much as a ref.
Well, you know? Right. But I'm saying you could crop the ref out and it would be nothing. Right. But then everything is more important in the frame that's actually in there. And then, you know, if you just hold your hand over the ref and you say, okay, what do we have here? Then that even brings out those background colors and that door even more. So maybe there wasn't anything you could do about it, but when you're setting up, you should be looking at where's the furthest back wall and where's the back wall that has the least amount of light or the darkest paint or, you know, whatever. Having those things in there is going to limit how good the picture can be because it's going to be a little bit distracting.
Yeah, but I don't think you can possibly make it any darker, huh? Because then
probably not.
No.
So you're looking at you know, shooting from the best place that you possibly can, and maybe this is and maybe it's not, but keep in mind that even if the background is significantly darker than what's going on in the foreground, if you can't get rid of it completely, then you have to be okay with it. And I'm looking at those yellow things, and if those weren't there and if that door wasn't there, it would be, and it was cropped tighter, it would be better.
I mean, it's also a matter of framing as well. Like if you know the referee's over there, I mean, it's not like this is like two guys, right, who are wrestling, and you know for a fact that they're going to be together. Like they're not going to be like apart. This is not professional legend. They don't go to the ropes and like fling themselves. Like, they're not going to be together almost all the time. So why can't you, like, first of all, frame it to start with, so the ref is not going to be there? So you use the cursor, the focus on the far right or the far left, and just get rid of the ref altogether, you know, or at least like shift it so that the ref's not going to be in it. It's not very difficult to do. And at this point, for Scott, this is something that you should be really aware of, because what really destroys this picture really is, to me, is the ref more than anything else, because he's right in front of your face and that's it. It's all I can see. It's like, you know, it's the same, like, I don't know, like you go on a date and this person has like the biggest nose in the world and that's all you can see. It's kind of like that, you know? It's exactly that. The ref is a nose to me. And you should, at this point, we've done this for months now, that you should be well aware of it, of something like this. And you should tell yourself, okay, how am I going to get rid of the ref from my frame? It's not very difficult to do. It's even more difficult when it's like a team sport, if it's basketball or if it's football, anything that's got more than one people, they're all quite spread out. It's much more difficult to kind of get rid of like the people that you don't want in. But these type of sports, if it's for instance, like a solo thing, like gymnastics or this or tennis or anything that you are for sure 99% of the time going to have two people or one person closely clumped together, you should be well aware of what's actually going on in the background. Very easy to do. Really, really is. So please, please, please. I think this is such an avoidable mistake that you should kick yourself for doing this. Okay, Scott. So let's see. Mikhail, and it's, if you can't really see it, there is a spit attached to the mouthpiece, and that's the main thing. Briefly from me, I don't really need the trainer. I just need his hand. And it's one of those things that, like, I don't know, like for instance, the reflection things that we've, I think we've done before on the on the actual podcast, like for the assignment desk. It has to be really, really obvious, right? Because I always, like, in a day and age right now where most people check their photos on mobile phones and we don't check on this big monitor, things have to be quite obvious. And if I'm looking at this picture in a smaller screen, I don't know if I can actually see that spit thing connected to the mouthpiece. And it sucks because it's there because you've taken it and you've seen it. You've seen it in your computer and you can see it. But if people just like look at it really fast, you might not be able to actually just see it. And it sucks. So in that case, yeah, it should be a lot tighter so you have a bit more of a chance of people actually seeing it. No, Michael, you okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really torn. Like, there are things that I like about it and things that I don't. I kind of like the coach's face being cut off like that.
No.
But you're right in that it should be tighter if you want the spit. But then I don't know. I don't really need to. I don't need to see pictures of spit, I don't think.
I like the spit. I'm absolutely fine with the spit.
No, but I mean, it's not.
I can't see
it's a long. It's a long way to go for spit, right? If like, I'm not opposed to spit. Like, I have, pictures of people yelling and looking straight into the camera with the 400 or whatever, and you can just see spit flying all over the place.
Yeah,
that's fine. This is a lot of work. It's such a small part of the picture, like pixel wise or whatever.
It is.
But I don't know. What I don't like in this, I don't like that his face is in the shadow and that the top of his head is light, and that's the problem of shooting indoors like that. So it really just raises the difficulty on it, and I don't know. It's just, this isn't good enough. You have the turnbuckle on the lower right side and part of the rope on the lower left side. That's not good. And then the lighting, and then, nothing's going on except for the spit, and it's not big enough. So I would say it's a good effort for sure, but it's not enough.
Mihail's spit is good. Just make it better next time. That's it. Make it a bit closer. And it probably would actually help if the mouthpiece is also there as well. Just saying. So Reed is extending his ski snow mountain theme and shooting ice climbing. So this is what I've actually learned, like, because I've been shooting a lot of climbing these days, and there is actually an ice climbing World Cup. World Cup is not just like one tournament, but like it's a circuit.
There's no ice here. Where's the ice?
So ice climbing, in terms of competition, there is no ice. For the speed climbing thing, speed climbing is like two people, it's like a sprint. Two people, same wall, they go up. They do that for the bouldering thing, and they also have it for ice climbing. In that instance, it's ice. But in the actual climbing thing, for some God knows whatever fuck reason, it's like this. And I find it is the most unappealing thing ever, because when I was, when I was actually told, like, yeah, there's like ice climbing World Cup circuit as well. I was like, yeah, that's really cool. I'm gonna have a look. And I looked at the YouTube video and it's like, but there's no ice. It's like, what? What's the point? Like, how could you possibly call it ice climbing if there's no ice? It's just like guy with this little axe thing, and like they just do Ninja Warrior stuff without ice stuff, and that's it. I mean, not the non-ice stuff. They just like slam these like things into the blocks. So now that I've kind of bitched and moaned about this picture is boring. Why? Because I think the shadow doesn't really do it for me. I don't know. I also don't like the thing in the background, which is part of a building, but it's actually like not part of the competition, thing. Yeah. And that's it. It's like nothing really to like.
This picture, you got caught in between in about a million different ways here. I like the shadow. If you could have just got the climber and the shadow, that would have been one thing.
Yeah.
But having the old building and then I guess the new building behind it does not work at all. If you had managed to get, like, if it was a true wide angle picture and you were able to get this really old building behind this more modern climbing system or something, then we could talk. That would be an interesting use of the old and the new and the different tones and all of that kind of stuff. But just having it show through on one side like that throws off the symmetry of all of it, and it just ends up being a mess. So
yeah,
it doesn't work.
So Michal wrote on this thing that he thinks it's a bit too cluttered. So Matt Cohen, is this too cluttered or not cluttered?
No, I don't think it's too cluttered. I don't like the person walking on the stairs. That's the only thing I don't like about it. And even that is just by the nature of the color of it, and it's not screaming. It's not like the guy's wearing a yellow jumpsuit, right? It's not screaming for attention. So I would say that you should have waited until that person finished climbing up the stairs and then made the picture, but I don't have a problem with this.
I just kind of think there probably was a better way of shooting it, because if you can get access to that point, I think you can go a bit closer, and like I wish like if it was like really straight on. You see, like, because like the not the fence thing, but like little whatever, the brown thing, it's the fence. They're crooked, and in this instance, I kind of want to like get the shot like full on, or find an angle, because if it's going to be crooked like this, to me, it doesn't really do it. I'm sure there's a reason why you didn't actually shoot it straight on. I'm sure there's a reason why you couldn't find another angle to like not get that brown thing involved. In terms of just for color stuff, for me, that brown doesn't match the rest of the scene, because I think it's such a great moment that the boxer. He's a boxer. The boxer sitting there on his own, not in the ring, and it's a great, 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 great moment. So in that instance, I would just like, kind of like, you have to be really thinking very, very quickly. You see the thing, okay, I'm gonna actually shoot it. You take one shot, okay, it doesn't work. I'm gonna actually move there because I get everything straight. I'll take one, okay, does it work? Doesn't work? Okay, I'm gonna actually go and change. Maybe I can get a bit closer. You have to be thinking all these things kind of in a row. Right? Because like, how long are you gonna actually have that guy sitting there? You don't know. You literally, he could just be there for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. He could be there for a minute. But when you actually see the opportunity, you have to kind of like go through your kind of mental checklist of like things you can actually do in that moment, and it has to be like quite clear. And that unfortunately only comes with experience, because like you need to like shoot quite a lot to like understand, in this instance, this is what I can do. Given the time, this is how much time I can actually try several angles, several composition, all these things. So yeah, I mean, like it's gonna happen again, but if these things happen again, then you have to act quickly. Definitely get more options, like in terms of actually shooting, because it just looks a bit, to me, a bit sloppy, and doesn't really do it. Good moment. All right, Matt. Bob is swimming.
I don't know. It's it's fine. It's fine, right? It's what would be expected. There's no reason this couldn't run in the local paper. It's but what are we doing here? They're like, look at this picture, and then look at the ones that we were talking about before that had the layers and the depth to it. It's just two-dimensional. It's just, there's nothing else going on. You can't see any other swimmers. You can't see the pool complex itself. There's just not really anything other than this. So you can do this. That's fine, right? You've done this. Now figure out a way to make it look more interesting than this, because when people swim, they're going to be popping out of the water and they're going to be making faces and there's going to be water splashing. That's a given. What can you do with that to make it more interesting?
Yeah.
I've actually been to this pool.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. How do you know?
Because it's in Menlo Park, and I've shot the Menlo Atherton swimming team.
Ah, I see. Like to me, like I just need a bit more on this. Like I need like an arm. I need something like this is a really standard swimming shot, minus the arm, like minus kind of like a bit more the usual action thing. So it's a bit subpar. Like I don't really mind because everything, the focus and whatnot, but like whatever. Yeah, a bit better. I like this one more. It's a bit more interesting. But have I seen this? And a million times? Yes, I have. So what else am I gonna say?
Yeah, it is more interesting. You have the depth. You have the not quite stock kind of look to it. But think more holistically than this. Like, this isn't target practice. You're not there to put on your long lens and isolate the subject and get in focus, stopped action pictures, and then move on. You be thinking. When you shoot a swim meet, some of these meets are very long, or not the meets are long, but some of the races, are 8 or 10 laps or more. You have time to get these pictures and then grab a different camera and a lens, or move somewhere else and just get a whole different perspective on it. But you don't want to come back with I look at thumbnails, right? I can go to somebody's page on Instagram and look at just their profile page and their thumbnails and scroll through it. I can tell without even looking at the pictures big if the person's any good or not, if they're creative or not. And if all you're seeing is one subject in the middle of the frame, it's all going to look very much the same. And you have to break out of that. You have to be doing things that look different than this. It doesn't need to be here.
It's fine. I mean, I don't know who that is, but the look is fine. And I'm assuming like if it's a professional sporting person, then yeah, I'm okay with this.
Well, it's Junior, but it doesn't matter that it's not somebody famous. You have the light drawing you right to him. You have enough of his face that you can tell that it's a person.
Yeah.
It's definitely does not need to be here.
And this is like the instance that works really well with black and white.
Yeah.
Kind of like this. That's good. I think it might be the best read ski picture I've ever seen before. That was really good. It's great.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's just fine, you know?
It's, again, this looks more like the swimming pictures than it looks like the other pictures that we've been talking about. So, it's fine. I don't know, where Brooks is, on his journey. He's coming to my workshop next month. So I'm going to be able to kind of hands-on, get him to look at things a little bit differently. But yeah, it's, and you can make these pictures. There's nothing wrong with it. But again, it's not what we're doing here, right? We're trying to push past this. Like once you can do something like this, the very next thing you should be doing is pushing whatever boundary that you're feeling right then. You've done this. And I get not wanting to waste it. I get not wanting to disappoint people that you don't have their picture or something like that. But
yeah, whatever.
To grow as a photographer, you need to be pushing all the boundaries, timing, composition, motion, light, all of these things. And this is just a straight up kind of picture. There's nothing wrong with it. We're not slamming you for it, but
it is boring.
We need to move forward with this.
Because if you can do this, like you don't really have to keep on doing it. And like, why? Because I find a square format in most cases really, really just boring.
Yeah, I don't really mess with square unless it's like the only option. Like I'm cropping out something that I don't want, and I don't want to lose a foot along with it or something. This could have been a 4x5 vertical very easily. I don't care that part of the whip or whatever was would be cut off. It just doesn't matter at that point. Yeah, this
is bad though.
Yeah, it's like this is what the bull is supposed to do. That's standing up on its front feet like that and kicking out its back feet is what you're looking for, but it's very rarely enough, and it's almost never going to be enough when you're further away from the subject than the subject is to the background. I say this basically every single time, and I'm going to keep saying it until people really get it, because that's how you isolate action. And if you can't get any closer than this, then you need to look for an angle that takes the background out of it. This is something that Brooks is going to be very heavily schooled in next month, because we are shooting bull riding for part of it. And when you are shooting bull riding and the bull is very rarely going to go, more than 10 yards, 15 yards away from the chutes that it's coming out of, and you're probably going to be more than 10 or 15 yards from the bull, that means that you need to figure out a different place to shoot from, because the action could be great. But again, you don't even have a rider on here, and the rider who has gotten bucked off and is hanging on to the shoot gate is too in focus, and the ad board is too in focus. Like all of that stuff is too close for you to get separation.
But it's shot in f8 as well. I don't understand why it's in f8.
Yeah, well, that's a big problem.
I think he's a bit too literal at this point. Like he's just kind of like not really seeing the field. He's just like seeing the trees, and that's it. Like I want him to actually see a bit more like an expanded view of like what's going on. That like you get excited, like, oh, there's a guy, or a girl like riding the bull or the horse or the whatever. Like I want to shoot that and stop the action. Like, yeah, great. All right, so you can do that. So like, what's next? Well, then you like, and that's the really difficult step for a lot of people to actually take, because like it's so hard for some people to like think outside the box. You know what I mean? Like it's so difficult to just like say, okay, you know very well yourself that you can do this. Like you can take, what we basically call like a stock photography photo for a certain sport. The guy is shooting the ball, The guy is catching the ball, the guy is hitting the ball, whatever. Like those things, if you can do them, like, you've got the timing pad, you understand what's going on, it's fine. Then you have to then step back and say, I can do these things. No, now what can I do? Because it's like, for me, these two photos are really like what is bad about sports photography, because everyone takes exactly the same shot. So maybe not this photo, but the other one. Like all the photographers who were there were doing exactly that. So then you have to ask yourself, like, what else can I do? If everyone is doing exactly the same thing, then like, what is my motivation? I need to, like, do you want to take the same photos? Then fine. I think you got your goals set. You don't have to really do anything after that. But like, what do you actually want out of it in the next phase of your sports photography life? Like, you can do all these things very well. Great. It's like, now what? So now you have to kind of like, go to another rodeo, and have a look at like what's going on, what interests you, what is something that like that's the only thing you could actually do. Like those things is very, very, very important. Obviously, like that, it's not just about rodeo, but like other sports as well. Just don't be too literal about the actual sport, because just you have to think a bit more big, like wider. All right, Matt. I have no idea what this is, so tell me, what is this?
It's tennis. And
how is this tennis?
Well, she's serving.
Where's the ball?
Right. And more importantly, where are the ends of her fingers?
But like, if I don't okay. So is this supposed to be Darina Dias is the name?
I guess.
Or is it the person's name?
The person's name. It's the Australian Open, it says.
All right, but I think you're gonna say exactly what I'm gonna say, so please go ahead.
Yeah, you can't cut the fingers off. I don't even care. I don't care one bit that the ball isn't in there. Right. A lot of people would, and that's fine for them. To me, I don't care that the ball isn't in there, but there is zero excuse for cutting off at the fingers. And that should be obvious. I mean, if you're getting a press credential to the Australian Open, a major tennis tournament, you should be past this. It's not okay. Cutting off the fingers like that is never okay. You could have, if this was all the room that you had from where you were, you could have just angled your camera up an inch and you would have gotten it, but you didn't, and it's a throwaway. I don't care about any of the rest of it. This is a fatally flawed picture right from the beginning.
Yeah. Like, no. Because that's the only thing you can see on this picture. Like, you only see the fingers being cut off, and that's it. Because it's so in your face, so you don't see anything else with that. And at that point, it's game over. Just throw it away. Well, we had about 12 entries in this month's training round. I think you guys should be entering a lot more, because I was seeing in the Flickr pool that there were quite a lot of photos that probably should be in here. If you want more information, always go to biglensfastshutter.com. If you want to give us money, please go to patreon.com/BLFS. And yeah, for the Flickr thing, if you go to flickr.com, search for Big Lens Fast Shutter, you'll be able to actually find our group. And there's plenty of people who are going to be there to help you out, and they're all nice people. And we will also be there to help you monthly, depending on how much you pay us. But yes, that is really it. Do you have anything else to add? Are you okay?
Yeah, that's it.
So that's it. Thank you for joining Training Round, and we shall see you next month.